Hi, it's Shonna, and welcome to a story with me tonight. I'm really glad you're here. Tonight, I'm going to read a book written by an Indigenous writer named David Robertson and illustrated by Julie Flett. This is a book for kids that are kindergarten age and up. If you're with a preschooler, you might want to explain some of the vocabulary words. I am reading this book tonight because I get to work with some amazing kids that are learning how to do snares for rabbits. Some of them have the good fortune to be hunting with family for moose or for geese. And I wanted to read a book that honors some of the traditions of Indigenous youth and going with their grandfather. In the community I'm in, they call him a doo-doo, a grandfather and grandmother, a goo-goo, and a doo-doo. The language in this book might be a little different than the community I work in. I think that the language referred to is Cree in this one, but definitely talking about the traditions of hunting and going on the trapline. So let's take a moment to get comfortable. I have a cup of tea. Go ahead and get a snack or a glass of water or someone that you care about. If you hear a little bell, it's because my cat is playing and running around the room while I read this story. I think she likes this book too. So get comfortable, find a comfortable place, and if you like, you can even find someone to listen to the story with you. If you can't listen to the whole book today, that's okay. You can pause this video and come back to it again and again. All right, let's get comfortable. And this story is called On the Trapline. That's the title, On the Trapline. And there's a grandfather and their grandchild. Let me open up the cover. And it says, I'm on my way up north because Mosham, my grandpa, is taking me to his trapline. I've never been there before, and Mosham says he hasn't been since he was a kid like me. When I look out the window, all I can see are trees and water. The lakes look like blue clouds in a green sky. I think that this little person is in a plane or a helicopter going someplace very remote and far. And when they look out the window, they just see green and lakes. What's a trapline, I ask? Traplines are where people hunt animals and live off the land, he says. That's a beautiful view out the window from up high. Have you been in a plane looking out the window and looking down at lakes and green like that? I hope you get a chance to if you haven't. When we touch down in the community, Mosham's old friend is waiting for us. Tansy, he says to Mosham. Tansy, Mosham says to him. Mosham speaks Swampy Cree when he's around his friends. Hi, I say. That's what Tansy means in English. So in his community, his grandfather speaks Swampy Cree. What language do the grandparents or people in your community speak? In the community I get to go to, they speak Oji Cree. That's a different language. It's different here. In the city, everything is all bunched up. In the north, there's so much space. Mosham says relatives live in houses close to each other, but to me it looks like there's still lots of room between them. Quitinok means north, and I apologize for my pronunciation. I don't speak Swampy Cree. I don't know what it sounds like, so I might not be saying these words accurately or correctly. Please, if you speak this language, please forgive me. We pull up to a small house beside a big lake. Is this your trap line? I ask. No, Mosham says. This is where we lived after we left the trap line. That's a beautiful spot on the water. Mosham tells me that in winter everybody in the family slept in one room where the wood stove kept them warm. He says it was nice being together like that. I guess some things are all bunched up in the north. And then there's a word in Swampy Cree. I'm going to try to say it, but I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. It says, Wakomakanak means family. I love this picture of being all snuggled in together. I bet it's nice and cozy and warm in the wintertime, being cuddled up like that. We walk to the shore behind the house. There are all kinds of rocks, big and small, round and flat, and I think about the beach that I go to near the city where there's only sand. This is where we used to swim, Mosham says. That looks beautiful. Oh my goodness, my cat is jumping around like pretending it's hunting a mouse. I think it's getting excited about this trapline idea. I'm sorry for all the noise. She's being silly. Mosham tells me that he and his brothers and sisters made paper boats here too. They would pretend the boats were freighters and put tiny rocks in them to see how long they would float. There's another Swampy Cree word that says kapasimo, and it means swim. We drive down a gravel road that winds through trees like a snake, and at the end of the road a path leads to the remains of an old building. This is where I went to school after we left the trapline, Mosham says. Most of the kids only spoke Cree, but at that school all of us had to talk and learn in English. Did you still get to speak Cree? I ask. My friends and I snuck into the bush so we could speak our language, he said. And the word, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can pronounce this. Inninimoin means Cree language. I'm sad that they had to sneak to speak Cree in hiding. That doesn't feel right. We look at the birch trees and pine trees and all the long grass, and I imagine Mosham and his friends speaking Cree in there. Is that your trapline? I ask. No, he says. My trapline is far from here. I ask Mosham what it was like going to school after living on the trapline, and he's quiet for a long time. I learned in both places, he says. I just learned different things. Pakan means different. There's a river at the end of the highway. We get into one of the motorboats docked along the shore and head out onto the water. The river is wide, but Mosham's smile is even wider. Mosham tells me his family's boat only had 1 horsepower putt-putt engine. So it only had 1 horsepower putt-putt engine. That means it's pretty slow. That's not a lot of horses, I say. But I think it would be nice to travel slowly around here. And it says, Pekach means slowly, and Minwasan means beautiful. And it is beautiful. Look at that. If you travel too fast in a boat, you might not see all the beautiful things around you. And I see all kinds of things. Beaver dams, eagles flying. What else? Overhead and paintings on rocks. I see the sun climb higher and shadows get shorter. I see blue water turn to black. That's when Mosham's eyes light up. He points to a boulder near some thick trees. That's my trapline, he says. Kirill means he goes home. Must be so exciting to see his trapline. Mosham needs a walking stick. So I find him a perfect piece of driftwood. This is where we lived when we were on the trapline, he says. Mosham tells me that everybody in the family slept in one big tent so they could keep warm at night. I think it would have been nice being together like that. We find a pile of wood that looks like a giant game of pick-up sticks. This is where we chopped wood, he says. Mosham tells me that even the youngest children had jobs to do, and everyone would share the work. I think about my chores back in the city, putting away dishes, cleaning up my room, and I wonder what it would be like to do chores outside instead. Wanaway means go outside in Swampy Cree. What are the chores you have at your house? Maybe you have to make your bed or wipe the table. What do you do to help around the house? Would you rather have chores inside the house or outside the house? Let's see what happens next. There are bushes all around the clearing, and we find one that's full of Saskatoon berries. Have you ever had a Saskatoon berry before? I wonder what they taste like. Mosham picks one and puts it right into his mouth. When we were hungry, we had to find food, he says. We ate all kinds of berries. I pick a Saskatoon berry and eat it just like Mosham. It tastes better than the fruit we get at the store, and I have more than just one. Minissa means berries in Swampy Cree. I wonder what Saskatoon berries taste like. Do you have a favorite kind of berry? Where I get to go, there's blueberries, wild blueberries, and they're so good. This is a nice picture. We walk together back to the shore. Mosham tells me that this is one of the places where he used to set traps. He caught all kinds of animals, but mostly rats. You mean like the ones that live in the sewers, I ask? I've seen that kind of rat on television. No, he laughs. Muskrats. Mosham tells me they ate the muskrat meat. The pelts are the skins, right? The fur? The pelts were sold to buy flour, tea, sugar, and lard, things you couldn't get on the trapline. When we're about to leave, I stand with Mosham by the lake. He holds my hand tight, but he doesn't say anything. That's a beautiful view. We stopped to fish on the way back. Mosham's friends catches lots of fish, and Mosham catches some. I almost catch one, but it gets away. Why are you so good at fishing? I ask. We used to fish on the trapline too, he says. Mosham tells me that we can share. On the trapline, everybody shared with everybody else. I like that idea very much. That night, the community has a feast. There's bannock, mixed vegetables, berries, wild meat, and all the fish we caught. It makes my stomach rumble. Mosham is an elder, and after he blesses the food, it's my job to serve him his meal. Elders get to eat before anybody else. Ekosani, he says when I bring his food. Ekosani means thank you in Swampy Cree. It's beautiful that they serve the elders first. Why do you think they do that? You could ask an elder and find out for yourself. When it's time to go back to the city, I ask Mosham if we can come back soon, and he says that we can. And after we take off, I see Mosham looking out the window. Can you see your trapline? I ask. Yes, he says. I can imagine it just the way it used to be and just the way it is. Can you? So he's picturing it in his mind. Can you picture the trapline near the big rock with the beautiful water all around? I close my eyes and I picture the trapline. The trees, the water, and all the land in little islands, chopping wood and picking berries, catching rats at the shore, but not that kind of rat, sleeping in a tent with family to stay warm, and standing by the lake with Mosham. That's beautiful. And I open my eyes. Yes, I can see it too. It used to be what Mosham could see, but now that place has been shared with their grandchild too. Now there's a little letter from the author. I'm going to read it to you if that's okay. It says, my father grew up on a trapline, and from the time he was born until he was 9 years old, when he and his family moved to Norway House. After that, he went with his father, but by mid-teens, he left the trapline for what seemed like a long time. And then in summer of 2018, Dad and I headed out to the land together, and he hadn't been there for 70 years. It was the first time for me. And then he's talking about reconciliation. That's a very big word, and one that you want to talk to your grown-ups about. But it says reconciliation is more than just healing from trauma. It's connecting or reconnecting with people, culture, language, and community. And being on the trapline with my father was the most significant moment in our relationship. It was a homecoming for me as a Cree man, and truly a journey home for him. That's beautiful. The illustrator, Julie Fleet, also has a letter to share with you. It says, I was thrilled to be asked to work on a story about David and his father. David's mom and dad are dear to me. Some of my own family come from Norway House Cree Nation, the same community that David's family comes from. My family worked in the fur trade. My grandfather and great-uncles were trappers and traders, hunters and fishers. My grandmothers beaded and sewed mittens, parkas, vests, leggings, and moccasins made from caribou and deer hide. My father hunted as a young boy to bring food home for his family, and though I missed out on experiencing many of these traditions, I'm happy to see that my son and nieces have since learned the skills for living on the land. They're learning their grandparents' languages, and my niece beads like her grandmother's did, and that illustrator's name is Julie Fleet. So it's beautiful to see that this story has meaning to the person that wrote the book and the person that did the pictures. I hope you enjoyed this story as much as I did, and I hope that you have a chance to talk to somebody in your family about what you learned from this story and what this child's experiences were. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I loved reading this story with you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And I'll be back next week with some more books. Thank you. Bye-bye.